Non-duality is not to not have thoughts. It's not to just have awareness. To be in pure awareness is not non-duality. To be in pure awareness without thoughts, that's nothingness. It's not even emptiness. Nothingness comes first, then we have emptiness, then there's non-duality. But non-duality as a term is also fucking terrible because it kind of has this element of a negating duality, but that's not the case. It's about transcending but including the duality and going post-duality or trans-duality, transcending duality, right? Same thing as like, it's not about getting to this point of like, there's no self. There's no self. Well, if there's no self, who the fuck is listening to this shit then? Who's this motherfucker? Don't tell me this is not real, because I'll punch you in your face. This is real. It's just empty. Or the way that sister used to teach us, she says, the self is a self, but it's completely impersonal. It's basically automatic. To think of it as a self without free will is another way that you can think of it as well, right? But when we go to free will debates, people can get a little bit caught up in weird knots there, right? But basically, the self is empty. It's not substantial. There's actually nothing in there, right? So as we go through a proper meditation path, right? The first thing that we do is we learn to stabilize our attention so that attention and mind does what we want it to do. That's why we begin with a concentration practice, right? In the background we were originally trained in, we worked with basically like a soft jhana, which is the way to do it. A lot of classic Theravadan practices these days, they have made a split between Shamata and Vipassana. So you do pure Shamata is concentration practice, where you concentrate so much you won't even notice if there's a sound next to you. This is kind of stuff like the monks that set themselves on fire did, most likely, right? It's concentrated so much they didn't even feel it, right? That's not what we want, because then your mind is not open enough to get insight, right? Vipassana, or Vipassana, on the other hand, is insight, where you are ignoring all states, all concentration states, and you're just getting insight into the nature of phenomena. However, that doesn't give you the fruits of Shamata, which is a fully mega stabilized mind. So it's just dry insight practice, where it's only insight. What you want is both of them mixed together. And as you do this, you will go through certain stages of you could say concentration. I like to say stages of unification. You're eventually unifying your consciousness. So all aspects of your consciousness, your parts, actually all get on board eventually. So you don't have chatter, you don't have dissonance, you don't have restlessness, you don't have this, you're fully focused. There are two maps that you can walk as you do. There are actually more, but there are two really interesting maps. One is the way that we were taught the jhanas, which is a very unique way of being taught the jhanas, because jhana work these days in contemporary times is full shamatha practice usually. We were taught shamatha vipassana integration, right? So you go through 8 stages of concentration. That's why the way we were taught to do it with relaxation. No tension in the mind. That's what produces that full shamatha. You want relaxation, so you have thoughts come in for two reasons. You need some thoughts so you have a fucking insight about the nature of mind, consciousness, reality. And so you can actually purify some shit. Otherwise, you push it all away. There's nothing that gets purified. Other way is you can also walk the elephant's path. This is a path from Tibetan Buddhism that is insanely powerful. This is what I use these days when I guide people mainly, but I also like to work with the jhanas. It kind of depends a little bit on the person. Yeah. So there are 9 stages here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And eventually the elephant here is tamed, sleeping right next to the monk without needing a rope, without needing anything. It's completely there. So you begin with the elephant is like a wild running after the monkey here. You can't even see it. You need a big flame of energy to pacify it and all sorts of stuff. Everything in this map is like a crazy symbol, so we don't have time to go through that today. But so this is the first stage of your practice. First, we got to tame the mind completely. Now, for those of you who are really into shadow work, if you don't know how to concentrate your mind and keep it there, if you try to do shadow work on your own, you're going to get lost. You don't know how to track yourself properly. There's no metacognitive tracking trained yet. And I've been in programs with like really high level therapists where there's like a whole cohort of people, and by month fucking 10, like no one that hasn't had a proper background in real training still doesn't understand how their own projection works. Because they can't see it in real time. Their awareness is too slow. But for the people that had that, they crush it. And they learn how to do shadow work on themselves, right? Now, but not fully yet, but they actually can track themselves yet. Now, after we have this, then what you got to learn is you have to learn how to stabilize your states. Unconditional love, unconditional compassion, gratitude, forgiveness, vulnerability, being able to stabilize those. In Buddhism, it's typically loving kindness, compassion, joy, equanimity. I like to add a couple of Western style practices almost of gratitude, forgiveness, and vulnerability. I think they make things a lot more well-rounded, a lot healthier. It's like integrating Buddhism with some psychotherapy practices. Having those fully stabilized is the next step. Because now, no matter what fucking happens, you can actually control it. You can be fine with it. So if you find deep traumas pop up, or you get an experience that is like a past life experience, or you go into another realm, you like whatever happens, your equanimity is so strong and so stabilized that it's not ripping you out of your normal brain, let's say, metaphorically speaking, but you can actually stay there and it's not impacting you, right? And whatever comes up in your consciousness, you can hold it in loving kindness. And no matter how tough life gets, you can be in equanimity. You can also have gratitude for things. For the tiniest little element, it's just gratitude for it. Just stabilizing these states is incredibly important. Once you have this as well, then You deconstruct all of reality, emptiness of everything, everywhere, until it's fully stabilized. You have now set the foundation for post-duality, which is not even the beginning of awakening yet. Right? Nothingness, etc., is just, that was early on the path. Was not it. So that's basically a, yeah. And then obviously you get to awakening, and then there's three stages of awakening. The last stage of awakening is to basically purify all karmic seeds. That's the last phase. That's the completion of the path.